Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Habibis podcast. 3 game developers usually drinking good Arab tea, but it's Ramadan, so we're not drinking tea. I'm your host, Asaba Darius.
I'm HouseMark.
And I'm Rami Ismail.
So, what y'all play this week, or watch, or whatever?
I spent a bunch of time watching movies, actually. It's Oscar season, so I wanted to catch up on the Oscar nominees. So I managed to catch 2 movies before the results came out. And it was one of them was the Best Picture winner. So there you go. I watched No Man's Land.
Okay.
And I really, really enjoyed No Man's Land. So it's a really interesting movie. It's starring Frances McDormand, who's also producing the movie. She's brilliant in this role. Without going too much into details, through a bunch of circumstances, she ends up just living on the road. And on the road, she lives on a caravan van kind of thing, where you just she's living from there. She does odd jobs, and then she travels around the country like that. She will take her van, park it somewhere, pick a part-time job for a while, earn some money, and then drive off somewhere else. She's just wandering like a modern day Bedouin, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then she encounters a whole bunch of other people who are chosen to live this life, this lifestyle. It's kind of she says this line in the movie that kind of describes it properly. She's like, "I'm not homeless, I'm houseless."
Right.
And then it's just it's a personal turmoil story about she's going through some stuff and she's figuring some stuff out. And as she's doing that, she's living life through encountering those people and their own lifestyle. A lot of those, I think most of the people in this movie and the people she encounters living this nomad lifestyle, they're all not actors. Those are people that actually live this life.
No.
And there's a real good testament for her, because she fits right in. You can't tell apart from who's actually acting to who's actually living this life, and some of the things that they captured from it. Beautiful cinematography, this amazing soundtrack. The music is I'm not gonna be able to pronounce his name. Ian Audi, I think is what his name. He's an Italian pianist. I kind of like his work quite a bit, but the soundtrack he made for this movie is just phenomenal. And for me, as somebody who's been moving a lot around for most of his life, I've lived in 7 countries, I can kind of relate to. There's a lot in this movie that was kind of spoke to me, and I found quite touching. So I wasn't surprised at all when it won Best Picture. I thought it was totally deserving. Yeah,
Right.
I quite enjoyed that. I'm not sure if you guys heard anything about. Yeah, that's Nomadland.
Okay.
The second movie I watched is called. It's really, really nice, man. And I don't know if you guys watched Into the Wild back in the day.
Yes, I was actually going to mention Into the Wild because it reminded me a lot of it. Just based on your description, because I haven't seen Nomadland. But Into the Wild was kind of dark. Is this dark as well?
There are some a lot of these people. They have their own demons and they're kind of trying to face them as well. It's very real, I would say.
Yeah. Relatable too. That's I'm sure. I bet most people at some point in their life were you know what? I just want to get away. I'm just gonna do odd jobs and live off the grid.
Yeah,
It's so relatable. I mean, not everyone does it, so it's really interesting seeing people who actually live the life.
it's really fascinating. Into the Wild was also one of those movies. I think after I watched, it was like, I'm gonna sell everything, grab that Eddie Vedder soundtrack, put it in a van, and just drive around Jordan, only to be done in 3 hours and come back home. But those movies that just inhibit this incredible sense of freedom. Yeah, like I said, there's something relatable for that in me, and yeah, it captures my imagination, so to say. The second movie I watched is called The Father. It's starring Anthony Hopkins. And if you guys seen the trailer or anything like this, Hopkins ended up winning the Best Actor award for the movie, and then I think the screenplay won Best Adapted Screenplay as well. The interesting part about this movie is that I think it is like one of the director's first works. The director is called Florian Zeller. Florian Zeller is actually like a well-known name when it comes to theater. So like he's been like doing theater work for quite some time, and you can see that on his debut movie, in which like most of the movie happens in like 2 to 3 sets. And like it's like a very focused acting emotional experience. It's all about, it relies heavily on like the actors really conveying their experience to you as somebody who's watching. The subject matter of this is quite difficult to deal with, especially if you have family members that like suffer from dementia. My grandma did, so that definitely hit home. It was very touching to watch. But I think the interesting part about it is that the movie is edited and cut so that it kind of conveys it kind of tells the movie from the person who's suffering from dementia's point of view. So you end up, as your viewer, the entire time you're questioning your reality, because you don't know what's real anymore. And I just thought that was so powerful in terms of like as an empathy tool. Movies are often like, you just sit back and receive, and they get you to like, react in a certain way, but very difficult for a movie to make you feel for being in the shoes of someone, right? Yeah. You can empathize with the actor as they're conveying emotions, but it's one of those few occasions in which like you feel that you were in that driver's seat and you know what it feels like. Yeah, this movie, like especially with the subject matter, the way it handled that, I think it was superb. A playwright director kind of making it into a movie was just brilliant. And I think like knowing this, he got like, it's his forte.
Right. What I understand from the discussion about it is that it's his own play, right? It's his own theater piece that he's transferred to a movie.
Yeah, my understanding is that
working across multiple media.
Yeah, it's impressive. It just jumped on the top of my want to watch list. Really
it's like like his debut movie, I think. Yeah, it is his directorial debut, and then like nominated for best movie. There's a bunch of movies this year that like the directorial debut or something like this, and they got nominated for best movie. I think The Sound of Metal is one of those too. So there's some really interesting movie this year.
I wonder if it's partially because all the usual movies just didn't happen or couldn't come out. Yeah. So there was more experimental and independent work.
Could be.
In ratio.
That's probably true, yeah. Absolutely.
Could be. This year, like, even like the nominees, I think that like as the nominees, the directors, the scripts, like this is the most diverse Oscars I've ever seen.
Right.
And it's like you could tell how much better it is for it. Like the spectrum of the stuff available or like nominated is just really, really incredible. Like there's something for everybody. In the best picture category, there's really something for everybody. Like there's drama, there's thrillers, there's psychological stuff. Yeah, I usually, like, every year I watch everything, all the Oscar movies, including all the foreign pictures, animated movies,
Right.
documentaries. I watch all of them every year, so it's kind of a tradition. This year is a little bit late because no cinemas.
Yes.
Right.
So I'll try to get the movies wherever I can. But yeah, I'm gonna probably be talking about movies, but maybe not as extensively over the next couple of episodes.
No, I'm all for it.
Great.
I'll
Yeah,
put
bring
both
it.
of these on my list.
Yeah, they're cool.
Same
Cool.
here.
Recommended.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
for
if you
it,
want,
Osama.
go for it.
I played a video game.
Wow.
I I played a really interesting video game. It's called The Returnal. It's a third-person shooter. It kind of has roguelike elements, and it has other elements of different genres as well. It's a little bit of a Metroidvania. It has a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? You know, the shoot 'em ups. What did they call those? Bullet hells. It's a little
Yeah.
bullet helly.
For sure.
And I have very mixed feelings about it. Very strong mixed feelings, if I can say that.
Strong mixed feelings.
Yes, because like there's some parts of the game I absolutely love, and there were parts of the game that like completely turned me off. It's like I have very mixed feelings. The first thing is it feels great. I actually like being in the world. I like moving around in it. I like shooting in it. That much is great. The combat is actually really fun. I like the mixture of bullet hell and like just regular third person shooter combat. So that part was really good. It's also gorgeous. I like the world building. I like the way that they set up just enough narrative to put you into the game. Like there's no huge exposition at the beginning. You just jump right in. I'm a big fan of that. I don't know if you've heard. Whenever I give my opinions, whenever there's like long exposition before you start playing a game, it's a turnoff for me in general. I'm a big fan of show don't tell, and you know to a degree. And this game, I think it was really good at how much it gave you at the beginning, just enough for you to put you into the game, and then you figure out the rest as you go. I did mention that it was a rogue like, but some people are referring to it as a rogue light. I actually think that's wrong. I think it's a rogue heavy.
New genre,
and that's actually yes. And, okay, let me explain. So a rogue, you start over from scratch. There's nothing. You have to play the game. It just randomized each time, but you have to play the game from scratch, and there's nothing in your progression that carries over. A rogue light is meant as, hey, this is something that kind of has an overarching progression that you get better over time every time you play. Here, there are very few elements that carry over. You unlock a few abilities that you don't necessarily have at the beginning of the game, mostly things that allow you to. There's a few combat ones, but mostly it's things that allow you to navigate the world differently, like in the Metroidvania part, access different parts of the map. But you don't actually get stronger, not that much. You just have a few more tools. Most of them are unlocked early on in the game. And for the rest of it, it's just your skill that determines whether you get better or not. Most of the power-ups or level-ups or anything that happens, they happen in the run. And as soon as the run is over, you lose it all. And initially, this didn't bother me. This is just the choice that they made. Eventually, when I got stuck, and I did get stuck, I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not good enough to progress from here unless I get a lucky run. Yeah, that's the other thing. The delta between a good run and a bad run is huge. I've had runs where everything that drops is just negative. It's not going to help me, and I don't pick it up. And I've had other runs where everything I pick up is great, like it's really helping me and it's like pushing me through. I'm leveling up. I'm much more powerful than I was before. But like really huge, stark difference. And I've had runs that on top of everything being negative, you're faced with challenge after challenge. Like mini bosses are coming back. It's super difficult. It doesn't let up. And others that every combat is much easier, and you're like kind of have a red carpet all the way to the boss. So it like I hit a point where the game became, I start playing a run. If it's too difficult at the beginning, I'm getting my butt handed to me. Might as well just restart because I'm just not going to be able to do well in this one. And if I have a run that I get all the good stuff and I make it to the boss, I'm skill wise, I'm not good enough to beat the boss with what I have. So I don't know. I guess it's like I'm still enjoying the game. I don't think I'm going to play it for much longer because it's gotten from the point of being fun to just frustrating.
Right.
That's my take. I still think it's an excellent game in so many ways. It just needs. And the one last thing that's actually like really, really, I can't believe they made this decision. You can't save. You have to do the run in one run. And as a person with kids, as a parent, I've had to abandon runs because my kids need me. So I have, I could either save the world or I could go make dinner or whatever, like iftar or something. So I guess I'm not gonna play this anymore. Or they want to watch a movie or something, and like I can't just be away for 2 or 3 hours and not without a save feature. And I'm baffled because I don't understand. Usually there are trade-offs to these kind of decisions. I don't get what they think people gain from not having a save function.
So I think it's a double whammy. Like HouseMark, the developer, is obviously best known for arcade style gameplays, relatively quick, resogun, stuff like that, where saving was never really a major concern.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, and this is something that developers themselves, I think, said, is that they wanted to avoid save scumming. But neither of those sound... So I agree with it calling it a rogue heavy, just for the reason that every run is like 70,000 hours.
Yeah.
It feels like the runs are the runs are very long. Like we did Nuclear Throne, we had a 15-minute rule in our runs. Like any run to the finish line should take 15 minutes. If you want to spend more, if you want to loop beyond the finish, sure. Right? That for us, that was fair enough to not put a save state in. But for something like this, where the runs can go for like 30, 40, 50 minutes, if you have a run and it's going pretty well, like it doesn't fit. It doesn't even fit my lifestyle. I don't have kids, but like I have a life. You know, like and the worst thing is, and I looked around on Twitter for suggestions, and people say like, well, just put the PlayStation in rest. But I also want to play Nier.
Yes.
I also want to play all the other games. I want to check up on my Destiny. I can't put it in rest. I want to be able to shut down the game, boot it back up, and continue playing. Right? That's, and then if I die, I die. Okay, I die. Halas. Like, okay, it happened. You know. But this version, I'm not very into. Because I've also been playing Returnal. Is it okay if I take over from here?
Yeah, I spoke a lot. I said everything I wanted to say.
I think it's gorgeous.
Yes.
Right? It's really pretty. Like HouseMark is not the studio I think of when HouseMark is the studio I think of when I think like good particle effects.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the studio I think of when I think like beautiful, moody, like perfectly visually directed sort of like landscapes and worlds and stuff. That's just not what I think about when I think HouseMark. I think lots of bullets, cool particle effects.
There is a bit of Outland when I see the trailers for Returnal. I haven't played it, but like that mood from Outland feels a bit there.
Yes,
though it's a completely different game.
Right. Like think of it this way. It is a. Did you play Nier?
Oh yeah, I did. Automata, right?
Right. So imagine mostly the shooting gameplay out of a Nier, but with many more weapons. Okay. The enemies sort of do the same thing with these intricate giant bullet patterns, mostly. The enemies mostly do melee, so they can also do melee. And the bosses are like Nier style, like big intricate bullet patterns everywhere, right? Now imagine that.
All of that.
Yeah,
okay, imagine that smashed into a roguelike where every time you die, you wake up near a crashed spaceship that is also sort of your hub and your upgrade base and stuff like that. Every time you die, you see a little flash of memory from the story. And as you progress through the world, you get more understanding of the world. So you have these two separate progression vectors narratively. One is sort of like when you wake up, you see flashes of something. and as you progress through the world, you get more understanding of what is happening, right?
Still cool.
Yeah.
So imagine all that, but now imagine that somehow they made it so that you have to keep playing and you can never stop until you die.
Not cool.
No.
So that's kind of the thing. It's an incredible game. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. The movement is phenomenal. The dash is great. The possibility space, as Osama explains it, like it has an enormous delta. But I've designed roguelikes. Like I like the giant delta. Like that's personally for me. That's a positive, not a negative.
I agree. I just want to interject. I do agree with that in general, but I feel like the negatives, I get nothing out of it because nothing carries over to the next run, which is the difference between this and other roguelikes where I'm like, oh, I had a bad run, whatever. I got 10 XP towards my next level up. I'll get a perk or something. Here it's like, oh, bad run, whatever. There's no point of even like continuing. That's the dynamic that I didn't like.
To be fair, I do the same thing in Nuclear Throne, and runs there are like 10 minutes, right? Like I boot it up and I go like, oh, no, I don't want this weapon, restart. Oh, I don't want this weapon, restart. Oh, no, I messed up my first skip, restart. I restart a lot in roguelikes. Like as soon as I feel the seed isn't going my way, I just swap over. But that's just the way I play, and I enjoyed that. It's just that runs are so long. They're so long. Like, and I understand that this is more of a narrative game, and you know, like the narrative is intriguing and interesting, and fighting a boss is great, and like the active reload system they have is great, and like if there's literally nothing I can complain about. Like it's just good start to finish, except for as always with roguelikes, with difficult games, accessibility functions would have been really appreciated for a game like this for people that have a hard time playing them, and B, where's the save function? Come on, like where is the save function? How can we not have a save function in a game where the runs are 60 plus minutes? Like, I can't play that much. Like I'm sorry. I switch between games. I have multiple things to play. If they had brought this game out 2 months ago when nothing was releasing for 2 months for some reason, great. But I'm in the middle of Nier. Mass Effect is coming out next week, and Destiny's starting a new season. I'm not going to commit 90 minutes to this game any day. Like 30 minutes at best. And then also like with the level of tension, like the level of stress this Returnal can give you. I need a break.
I agree.
And if I walk away from my PlayStation, I wake up the next morning to continue, and my PlayStation is updated and now my run is gone, I'm going to throw that controller like through the PlayStation. And getting PlayStation 5 is really hard. I don't want that.
You should put a doily on it to protect it from
to protect it. So, Returnal. I've also played Nier Replicant. I think I talked about it a little bit last week. I made more progress. God, it's a good remake. Like just the more. So I played only a little bit of the original at first, right? I've talked about that last week as well. I didn't finish it because it's kind of a big game. And I was a different type of gamer back then, I think. But I've gone back and watched some footage of the original, and just the amount of improvements is staggering. Like this is absolutely a remaster. Like I know it's technically a version update or whatever they want to call it, but this is a much better version of Nier Replicant than the version that we got before. Like it's smoother, it's prettier. Everything is a little easier. The quality of life updates are just, the list goes on forever. Even if it's just that the grimoire, you're sort of like your ally floats with you the entire game instead of just disappearing all the time. Like it's very well done. I finished Route A. Going to continue to Route B. Just like Nier Automata, there's routes in this game, which isn't much of a surprise, honestly. It's very good. It's as dramatic as Automata. If you played Automata, like in Automata, sort of the it's not even a twist. The style of storytelling is like fatalistic, nihilistic. Everything falls apart, and Nier is no different. So you need to have a pretty you need to feel pretty good about your day to play this game. Otherwise, you're just going to be really sad. So yeah, that I played the new Pokemon Snap.
Oh yeah, what do you think?
It's very Pokemon Snap. It's you gotta like this kind of game, right? It's a very passive game in many ways. Like if you enjoy photography and being in an on rails photography course, and you enjoy filtering through 37 photos that you took to find the best 4, and you enjoy sitting through the professor grading your photos algorithmically, and you enjoy doing that 75 times on the same course, then you're gonna have a great time with this game. Like it's really well done. It's adorable. Like taking good photos is a thrill. Like getting a good photo is genuinely joyful. But you need a lot of patience to like it. You better be a photographer to enjoy this game, I think, or have the time to play this game. I didn't get tired of it, but I don't think I'll play a lot of it. It's clearly a very good Pokemon Snap. My girlfriend's playing it, and she's having a blast with it. So clearly, it's good because she's a photographer. So, and finally, I played a little indie game called A Firm Handshake.
I like the title.
It's made by a developer named Torfi or Torfi. Made a bunch of other games that were pretty fun and interesting. This is a really interesting one. I call it the 2020-2021 Power Fantasy. It's a game about giving somebody a firm handshake. And it starts very simple, where you give people handshakes, and then they join your little like queue of people. They join you. As you go, it gets a little bit more strange, and I'm not going to say much more about it. Besides that, you should give it a go. It's short. It's pay what you want. If you enjoy it, kick a few dollars to the developer, obviously. But this is it is good. It is strange. It was wonderful. So it will only take 10. It's on itch.io. If you just search for A Firm Handshake itch.io, you'll find it immediately. It's like a 10-minute game.
Nice.
So really just grab it, play it.
The trailer is 7 minutes, so I guess it's most of the game.
Right. It's I don't. Is there an official trailer? I'm not sure if there's an official trailer. Anyway, don't watch anything. Official. Just download it and play it. Okay. It's free. It literally won't take you any time. It's surreal and strange, and it made me grin, and then gave me other feelings too.
Wow. That's great.
That was it this week, I think, for me. I don't know. There was a lot to play, which is nice. It feels like it feels joyful. Honestly, for this final week, like by the time people are listening to us, the final days of Ramadan.
That's right.
Really having all these games to play is really, because I don't know, like over halfway, Ramadan gets much harder for me.
Yes, my energy levels drop. It's not. I mean, it's nothing unmanageable, but compared to the beginning of Ramadan, where you're like, yeah, let's go, we got this. Then when you get to the middle to the end part, I'm like, oh yeah, we got this. You know, the tone is a little bit different.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Ramadan Mubarak, exactly.
Yeah. No, I will say it's also nice to be counting down the days again, right?
Yes.
Ramadan goes so fast,
so quickly. And even the period between Ramadan goes so fast. You're like, oh, it's over. It's going to be another 11 months, and before you know it,
and then it's Ramadan again. Yeah. Well, at least we can count down. Like obviously the little Qadr is coming.
That's right.
The Knights of Destiny. We talked about that 3 episodes ago, I think.
Yeah. I lost track, but yeah.
And then after that, obviously Eid, which by the time this is out is in like a few days.
Yes, I'm super excited. My kids are up and down.
I'm very excited for Eid.
This Eid is going to be a little bit interesting because we're in lockdown. I mean, Ramadan has been for the last 2 years.
Right.
How did you celebrate Eid growing up, Sam?
So how we celebrated growing up is very different than recently. So growing up, we would wake up extra early, which is a thing that we avoided doing in Ramadan normally if we could, because your fasting days are longer. We woke up extra early, took a shower, wore our nicest clothes. Every year on Eid, my parents bought everybody new like nice clothes, right? That's when we got our nice
Mm-hmm.
clothes for the year, is during Eid,
Yeah.
between Eid and Eid. And then we'd go to the mosque. And the mosque would have a Eid prayer, which is a prayer you only pray in Eid. We have two Eids, so we pray it twice a year. And the whole community would show up. The thing is, I remember there was a transition that happened in Montreal because our mosques are not very big here. And they like Eid, everybody comes out. There are people who only go to the mosque in Eid. So the mosques, after a while, they gave way to the mosques renting out huge like auditoriums, stadiums, so to accommodate everybody. So we'd go from a mosque where we'd have usually hundreds of people to tens of thousands of people in this giant, like in the Olympic Stadium. We had it for one of the years at Eid. Tons of people, lots of people giving out sweets to the kids and presents and whatnot. The kids didn't even know. They just come with bags of goodies to just give out. That was a beautiful moment. Then my parents would take us out for breakfast because that's also a thing we weren't able to do for all of Ramadan. So we'd have and it's hilarious because usually, more often than not, Ramadan happened during a weekday, and in Montreal, like everyone's working, so it very rarely falls on a time where other people have off. So Ramadan, like Eid, when it falls on a weekday, we'd go to a restaurant and like a fancy restaurant for breakfast, and almost everyone there would be Muslims also with the same idea, doing the same thing. And that's always nice because like everyone else is at work or doing whatnot except for whoever's celebrating Eids. That's for breakfast. Always at like lunch, it would be either we're inviting a bunch of families over. Lunch a little bit later because people are usually full still from that very big breakfast. We like at lunch or a little bit later, we'd have a lot of families over, or they'd have us over. So it would be one or the other. We take turns with the Eids. So and then we'd have another invitation usually at night. So it's just a day of being out, going from one place to the next, trying our best, eating a lot of food and trying our best not to dirty our new Eid clothes with all the food.
It's very, very similar. Very, very similar to us. I think I don't know if it's the same. The last night of Ramadan, the night before Eid, is probably the busiest day in the year for barbers. Everybody needs to have a brand new haircut. So the lines are insane. No matter how old you are, everybody's getting a brand new haircut before the first day of Eid, because everybody's meeting. You have to be in your best outfit. So you want to get also the best haircut too. So there's the cues. There's the cues when you start. For us, when we were kids, I think up until 18, I'm not sure if it's the same tradition in Iraq or in Egypt, but in Jordan, once you're you woke up, you had your breakfast and all of that stuff, and you're dressed up in your best clothes. As kids, my dad or the father of the family will give you money. We call it idea. Exactly. Yep. So you grab that money, and then you start running around the neighborhood, collecting idea from all the neighbors, kind of like trick or treating.
Anybody. Yep.
Yeah, well, mostly it's like neighbors or people that would know your family or something like this.
Right.
It's like trick or treating, but it's not candy. It's cash. It's cash, baby.
It has to be money. It has to be money. Yeah. For us, it was always anybody that we could count as an uncle or auntie.
Yes.
Would count. Yeah. And they don't actually have to be uncle or auntie. As long as they're uncle or auntie to the family.
Yes.
You can go there for ID.
Yes. You keep collecting ID until you're 18. Once you're 18, you have to start to give it away.
Yeah, you have to start paying it.
You have to start paying it.
Yes. My father still insists on paying it to us.
That's nice of him.
Yeah.
So when we were kids, when we collect this idea, all the kids in the neighborhood will go to the local grocery store or something like that, and then we all buy. I don't know what they're like really terrible toy guns that shoot firecrackers. And we all buy these real plastic guns, and then we buy really terrible firecrackers. The kind of gun they make a very loud noise when you light them. They're like
right,
and then before it pops, go like.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a very low, like silent noise. And then like all the kids, we want to buy like all sorts of toys. We collect all the cash
Right.
we can, and then we go to the toy stores. Some people, like, if they were good and have big families, they might end up with a bike that day.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if they end up with a bike, they will bring that bike over to like the neighborhood, and then they start charging for rides. Like, I'll give you my bike for a ride, and then like you have cash, so you start paying. You're like, all right, I'll give you like the 10 cents and take the bike around the block.
Right. Amazing. Very entrepreneurial. Yeah, no, I mean, for me, it's sort of in the middle. I mean, obviously, I had the same thing as Osama, like, and as Fauzi, you said, like, going to the barber, getting new clothes. Like, buying new clothes was always a disaster because I never liked any clothes.
Yeah.
So anything with like brands or stuff like that, I didn't like as a kid. So
Were you also 3 meters high when you were like 10, Rami?
Right. I was also very tall. So the amount of clothes I could buy was limited. And then most of what I could buy had like big, like Nike or Adidas or whatever on it. And I didn't want that. In Egypt, it was also usually like not Nike, but like Nico or Nike or like, Likey or something like like soccer shirts with Vodafone on it instead of Vodafone, like stuff like that.
Vodafone, best brand.
Yeah, Vodafone, one of the best, and it was always the best clothes, according to my dad. Right, like the best clothes. Never seen quality like this, but
we spare no expense.
No expense. Yeah,
well,
so
Egyptian cotton is special, right? Egyptian cotton clothes are very good. So,
but yeah, so we would buy new clothes. We would go to the barber. We'd wake up very early, go to the mosque, do the Eid prayer, which is very long. And if you're like a 6-year-old, it's very long because it like there's like this whole intro part where like they repeat the same text over and over and over again. And 6-year-old me would just sit there and be like, "When do we get idea? What am I going to buy at the toy store after this is all over? Why does Ramadan take longer?" Because to me, it felt like more Ramadan. But the mood was spectacular always, right? Everybody in their nicest clothes, everybody happy, everybody's like congratulating each other and like just talking, catching up. All the kids like happy and running around. Our mosque had like a little grocer in the corner that would be open during Eid, and they would have candies and stuff like that for one time a year or 2 times a year. So we would spend some money there. And then, the rest of the day, I think for Eid, for me, we usually went to the cinema.
Oh.
That was like one of the things we did, because obviously most of our Eid was in the Netherlands, which meant there wasn't that much Eid. Like, we took days off from school. If we got the days off from school, we took them from school legally. If we didn't get days off from school, we just take days off from school because we'd
be sick.
Yep, very unfortunate. All of the family Ismail kids are sick on the same day. Like, very odd. Like, exactly. How does that happen?
And they're all looking dashing.
Yeah. But yeah, so we wouldn't go to school, and then usually we would go visit somebody or some uncles, aunts, friends, and then we'd go to the cinema. And I think for a few years, because it was in winter, it would be like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or something like that. So that was like a big tradition, as we would go to a tentpole movie. We didn't go to the movies much because it was kind of expensive. So Eid was really like a treat. Mm-hmm. And then we would there was this bakery in The Hague, and we would go and buy like a giant tray of all the best like little sweets, Arabic sweets, right? Mm-hmm. So sick.
Speaking of the sweets, it's one of the things we do the night before Eid, like as a family tradition, but I know many families also do that. There is like a type of biscuit, I think, or cookie, I don't know what you call it. But it's like a sweet that is either stuffed with dates or with pistachios. We call ma'moul. And we usually, we'll make that at home the night before. My mom would make it because, we'll be entertaining guests throughout Eid. They'll be coming over to wish us a happy Eid and all of that stuff. So as kids, we're excited because we collect all this money. And my mom will give them ma'moul in return, I guess.
Right.
We also have to give their kids money, so that kind of thing. And like ma'moul, when you make it, it's stuffed with dates, and we usually put it in this mold. It's a wooden mold and it has a handle. So as you stuff the ingredients of the ma'moul in that mold, you whack it against the table to get the ready biscuit out of it. And like you can imagine us as kids how much we'd enjoy that. So like, my mom would be like, stop slamming the table. I would be like, slamming it even with nothing in it. So, like we're just coming back fresh from our haircuts and we're just slamming the table with the ma'moul molds and stuff. Good time.
Yeah, our desserts, the Iraqi traditional desserts that my mother used to make. We tried to help. We weren't very good at helping her. The main one that I remember is called klecha, and like remember I mentioned in the last episode the cha sound that comes back.
Right.
So I actually have no idea if it exists in other Arab countries or what it's called, but I would guess it's kleka, maybe if it exists at all. But what it is, it's like a dates or a date blend wrapped in dough. I loved it as a kid. It's not very sweet. It's like it's as sweet as dates are, right? It doesn't get much more sweeter than that because there's no syrup put on it or anything like that. My favorite also was zalabiya, which is kind of like it's springy. It's called springy in Italy, I think it's called, or I don't know what it's called in India, but they also have the similar dessert, but it's very rich, like it's really dense. It has a lot of syrup in it. Extremely sweet.
It's Arab donuts.
Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it.
Yeah, it's not in a circle, but it's the dough deep fried and then covered with all sorts of sweet stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we also have halabiya, which is kind of like a pudding.
We call it halabiya. It's like sweet milk, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like that exactly. I mean, but it's like it's thicker, right? It's not.
Yeah, way thicker. Yeah, right. And it has a little bit of like distilled rose water.
Yes, that's right.
And,
yeah. I know.
Sometimes it's either covered in honey and pistachio or cinnamon and pistachio.
Right.
Oh my God, I love that stuff so much. It's
Me
so good.
Too.
I didn't like that. So I'm like, what is this? And then at some point you got like the roaster. I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't like that.
Well, that's when and we often went and got Lebanese baklava. But my favorite is a Turkish baklava. I'll say it right now, or baklawa as we call it. Like, it's my
want to
favorite.
Formally apologize to the entire Discord. Like, I didn't start this war. Like, this is all Asama. I didn't say anything.
Hey, you have to give credit where credit is due. The best baklava that I've had is Turkish baklava. It's freaking amazing.
Listen, I'm just staying out of this. I'm not going to say anything about who makes better food anywhere. Like, this is all Asama.
It's all good. Bring it. I'll stand my ground. But yeah, like desserts, we'd have desserts left over for a week. We'd We'd make a lot. We'd get a bunch of it as gift.
But how about these ones? Like, did you have Bala Hasham?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, Fawzi, do you know them?
No, the name is familiar, but I don't think I've had them.
They're like a little deep fried. They're like deep fried fritters, I guess. They're very sugary. I don't know how.
I'm googling them.
Do they?
In Jordan, we call them Asaba Zainab.
Okay.
Which literally translates to Zainab's fingers.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. They're very sweet. They're sort of like
sweet.
Yeah, you might think of like a churro or something.
Yes, a churro. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually don't remember what we called them, but we had those as well.
Right, and then we also had ma'moul, and then we had kunafa and baklava and atayif, Bala Hasham, the little round ones. God, what were they called? Round, also sweet, deep fried.
We call them in Jordanian. We call them awamat.
Okay.
It's also like
I don't know what those were called.
Little balls of dough that are deep fried and then covered in sugar water.
Yes.
Right.
The jalab, some people call them.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's an Indian word, right? For it.
Yeah. The Indian word for it is jalab jamin, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
But in the Levant we call it awamat.
Okay. I don't know if that's the same thing, but if it's the same round thing, like fried dough.
I'm Googling it. It is. Yeah.
It's like jalabia, but it's like it's different. It's not.
I know it as lotma.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, in Egypt, I think it's called lotma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lotma, that just means like a bite, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's so sweet, like like instant diabetes.
After Eid every year, there's like 4 days of sweating sugar. Like you sweat. If you ever want to sweeten a drink, you just take like a piece of paper and you scrape over your arm, and all the sweat is just pure sugar.
Yes,
so sweet.
You just drop that in. It's ridiculous. And it was great. I like after Ramadan, after not eating during the day, there's like the ritual of the first thing you eat during sunlight again.
Yeah.
And it almost feels rebellious. You just stand in the sun and you hold a piece of food up to it and you just go like, yeah, what you gonna do about what you gonna do about that, huh? I don't know.
Speaking of the sugary stuff, like that, we also like in Eid we serve a drink. We also serve it in Ramadan, but definitely in Eid. We call it Amar ad-Din.
Yes,
I which is basically super dry apricots.
Yeah,
and then it's dry, so like it comes in sheets when you buy them from the supermarket, and then like you chop them, and then you make a syrup out of them into a juice. So it's basically like very sweet apricot juice. You drink it in Ramadan, but definitely in Eid you have a bunch of that.
You would drink it like juice because we would actually eat. Okay, for us, Qamar ad-Din, we would also have the liquid version, but the one that we used to eat, it was the paste that you're describing. It kind of like fruit by the foot, like that. No, but good. Like the fruit by the foot is not good, but this is like you get the apricot, and it's this like thick apricot paste that's so delicious. That I've drank it before, but it was like at someone else's house. That's not how we used to have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a pretty strong. Really... It's a pretty strong flavor.
Yeah,
I remember that. It was not. It was. I was very picky as a kid with food and drink. Right, like over the past 10 years, I've managed to travel a lot, and that has opened my mind up to food. But as a kid, like I didn't eat any molokhia growing up because I was like, this looks disgusting. I would just look at it and I'd be like, nope, not eating that. So a lot of these a lot of these things I kind of remember, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I had that, and then I just go like, but I didn't try much of it. Like the sweets, I tried all of them, right? But a lot of them were like specific meals and drinks I would never try or not try much. And I'm really excited to go back to Egypt, inshallah, this year or the year after if COVID gets under control. And I'm going to try all of the things. I'm very excited, especially this, because I remember this drink, and I remember finding it. I remember drinking one sip once and then going, I never want this again.
I think it's one of those things that now as an adult, a lot of the stuff we talked about, like all the sweet stuff and Qamar ad-Din, I'll be like, I'll barely be able to have a bit of it. We're like, oh, too sweet for me.
Yes, exactly.
I am going all in because every year I still buy all the sweets and I still eat all the sweets and I still sweat sugar for a week straight, and I'm very excited about it.
Yeah,
I cannot wait.
We're going to be celebrating alone this year, just like last year for Eid, because of COVID and that kind of thing. But we're still not skimping on it. You're right. We're going to get trays of whatever is still open, all the desserts that you could possibly imagine, and we're going to enjoy it for the whole week. And maybe eat them over Zoom calls with our family.
We should do our Eid Zooms.
Oh, I'm so down.
That would be cool.
Good. Oh darn! Then I have to get new clothes.
Oh okay. Crap!
Let me make notes.
We kind of skipped on the new clothes thing this year too, for obvious reasons. We're not really going anywhere.
If we're gonna do Eid properly, we're gonna do Eid properly, and I'm gonna find new clothes.
Yeah.
For me, the haircut part got way easier over the years.
Oh, I should get a haircut. I still have hair, you guys. I need to figure out what to do with it.
You enjoy it less.
Yes.
I think I have more hair now than ever before, to be honest.
Do everything. Ponytail, split it in half, do braids. Do whatever you can. You enjoy that, brother.
Okay.
Yeah, my hair was longest before I lost it too. By the way, I'm not saying that's going to happen to you, but that was my experience.
Well, I even bought it from you too. I hear.
We're giving you the hand.
Yeah. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I should get a haircut before I eat.
I'll give you some incense so you can jump over a couple of times, Rami. That'll protect your hair.
I love it.
That'll be your idea. It's some like magic incense I send you.
I mean, idea needs to be cash, Fauzi. Come on. Send me some cash. What is as a kid, I got really good at no, it has to be cash. Like Allah's watching, it has to be cash. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm just very excited. Like, even though it's not going to be as big a celebration as it should be this year and last year, I think the sense of celebration, the communal sense of celebration around the world is going to be as lovely as always. And I can't wait for it for everything. I wish I was in a place with all the lights and all the happiness and all the sounds everywhere. But since that is not happening and I'm just at home, I'll make it happen here.
Yeah, that's a good attitude. Exactly.
It's
we're doing the same. We're going to be decorating like we do it every year anyway. We decorate. Maybe people aren't going to come over, but it's fine. We're still going to celebrate, same as always.
I need to figure out how I can order all of these sweets to my house.
Then let your kids light firecrackers in the house or something.
Right.
Maybe we'll skip that part.
Skip the fireworks part.
Yeah.
So, any other traditions y'all have for Eid? No. I was actually. No. This is not the transition part. Not yet.
Okay.
Almost. So close. So close.
It's thing. I'm holding my breath for this one.
No, too much pressure.
No
I'm
pressure.
not going to perform.
But okay, final days of Ramadan by the time people listen to this, right? You think we're still going to have some minute? You think that the countdown is going to take over the tiredness?
Yes, always. Every year for us, it's the same. We get more excited with each day. It's just that middle part that's really tough. That's
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like the latter half of the second third.
Yes.
That's the hard part.
Agreed 100%. Yeah. Because before that, you're like, yeah, we're like 10% done. We're a quarter of the way. We're a third of the way. And now you're like, okay, we're halfway. Now it's getting into percentages. These fractions aren't exciting anymore.
We're at 57%.
Yes.
It's like, okay.
But then you get to like the number of days that are left, the last 10-day countdown, and then it's exciting again. So that's what you have to wait for. That's the best part.
And then the best part comes again, just like the start of Ramadan. We go and sit and listen to some dude with a beard on TV go talk for like 15 minutes about the moon and the scientists and I don't know what. And he just sit there and he keeps talking and he sits there and he drags it out like it's a voice like a talent show final where they just keep dragging out the results and then he goes, Ramadan is one more day. It's like,
oh yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's not going to be my experience. I'm going to play Returnal and wait for the email.
You get the email. That's right.
Yeah, we get the email.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot about the email. I don't get the email. I still watch the television show in Egypt. Guy talks forever.
Because it's like talks forever. The start of Eid is like the start of Ramadan, right? Like some people need to see the moon, but the difference is like if Ramadan the start of Ramadan was delayed by one day, be like okay, it's fine, it's one more day of living normally. But like if they still don't see the moon, and you're like, oh no, we're gonna like go all the way to 30 days. It's like more days of fasting, right?
We're going to max fasting.
Max fasting.
Yeah, I remember it. And it's wrong to be disappointed about it, but gosh, am I disappointed about it some years. Like,
it's a month. It's been tough.
Yeah, like when you had like a rough Ramadan and you're at the end of it and the guy goes like, we did not see the moon. It's like,
well, look harder.
Can Can I get some glow in the dark pencil and draw it on the telescope? Like, will you notice? No, you won't notice, right? Like, let me do that. Oh yeah, I've had some years, and there's also years where it's like it's one more day, and you're gonna go like, okay, it's one more day, it's fine.
Yeah,
but like some years it's gonna be rough. I'm with these years because of the whole COVID thing and the not being together thing. I'm okay with Ramadan being short. Like I'm okay with it. If they go, it's 28 days. It's 28 khlas. Okay.
But you know, Rami, it's never 28. It's either 29 or 30. You have to fast at least 29.
It feels like it's almost 30.
Yeah, it feels that way too. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's been Ramadans that have been 37 days at this point. Like you're sitting there at the end of the year, like, whew, it was a good Ramadan. I'm tired. Please let me be done. And the Imam just goes like, we didn't see the moon this month. It's like, wait, what? Excuse me?
Time really does flow differently when you're fasting, though. So that
it really does.
Yeah, it's like the time after iftar, after you break your fast, is so short.
Right.
Yeah.
What is it? I mean, it's also just short because it's midsummer now for us. If you're on the southern, I've been thinking like, if there's like some Muslim out there that really wants to cheat this stuff, they'd just be moving between the hemispheres every like 13 years or something.
Yes, absolutely.
Short Ramadan every year.
Yeah, we're getting shorter and shorter right now. Like my kids now that like my eldest started fasting for real. My youngest are still either practicing or pretending, which is fine.
Right.
But by the time that my youngest start fasting, the fasts are going to be super easy.
It's a 36-year cycle, right? Yeah. Approximately.
Yeah, it moves about 11 days every
right.
year. Yeah.
So like 30-ish, 30 and a bit.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because it makes me realize my dad told me that when he was a kid, it was in winter.
Yeah.
And then when I was born and I was a kid, it was in winter. Right. And I just realized that there was a 30-year difference between us. And it's that suddenly kind of kicks in that, there's a 30-year cycle there.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of cycles, I think this is a good time to end this cycle.
Fauzi, what do you think? What do you think, Fauzi?
He's the master.
Thank you. Well, I can only go with whatever you give me. So thank you, Rami, for that transition. And thank you.
You're both welcome.
So yeah. Thank you all for listening. We're super happy every time we see the numbers of how many people are listening and subscribing to the podcast. If you haven't done so already, join our Discord at discord.habibis.com. Our community there is thriving. They started playing games together just recently. That just started happening this week, which is so cool. I haven't jumped in yet, but I'm really looking forward to doing that. The rest of the info comes at the part after this part, so I'll just end it by saying Ramadan Kareem and Salam Alaikum.
Eid Mubarak, I guess. Eid Mubarak and Salam.
Eid Mubarak soon, yes.
Salam.
That was the Habibis podcast for this week. I'm Osama Dorias, your host for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Osama Dorias. My fellow Habibis were Rami Ismail, you can find on Twitter at @THA_Rami, and Fauzi Mesmar, who you can find on Twitter at Fauzi Mesmar. Send us your questions, stories, suggestions via info@thehabibis.com. Intro and outro music was provided by Malik Zubayla, and the logo was provided by Ibrahim Hamdi. The Habibis is a weekly podcast about 3 game developers drinking good Arab tea, with new episodes launching every Friday, inshallah. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting service, or check out thehabibis.com for more information. Thank you for listening, and Assalamu Alaikum.